Hi guys, it's Maria here, back with another YouTube video, and today's one is going to be all about pasta because that's one of my favorite things to make, one of my favorite things to eat, and one of my favorite things to talk about as well. So I've decided that I'm going to do something slightly different today, in the sense of instead of doing my typical voiceover, you know, hands and pans style video, I'm actually going to kind of do like a live cooking show sort of effect where I am going to be talking to you guys while I'm making the dish in real time, if that makes sense. Before we go any further, do me a huge favor and subscribe to my channel because I do upload new content on a weekly basis, and if you don't want to miss out on any of that, then also press the notification bell so you get notified each time I upload a new video, and follow me on Instagram and visit my website at earthofmaria.com for more recipe content. If it looks like I'm in a slightly different place, that's because I am. I have this thing where I have to keep checking the camera to make sure that it's actually recording, because I've had this before where I would record entire, 10-15 minute segments of myself talking just to realize that I hadn't properly pushed down the record button, or there's something wrong with the audio, and I just want to avoid those situations for the sake of my own time management. Now onto the unique selling points of these pasta recipes. Well, the first one is that they're delicious, and I think that's the most important thing when it comes to just food in general and home cooked recipes. The second main one is that they only require one pot to make, so these are both one pot pasta recipes, and I don't know why I had to explain that any further. And both of them require less than 25 minutes of preparation. So you can basically whip these up using really simple ingredients in essentially no time and have a delicious lunch or dinner ready to go. And you can also meal prep these, and you can essentially make a huge batch and distribute it between little boxes and kind of have your lunches or your dinners ready to go for the entire week. So yeah, that's another reason as to why you should try these out. But I mean, does anyone really need persuasion when it comes to pasta? We are going to get started with our first recipe, and I already have the ingredients laid out behind me, and this is called, I need to double check on my computer so I can get the name correct. This is a one pot coconut chickpea penne, and this recipe is actually from an ebook that I published a couple of days ago, which is a completely free of charge recipe ebook containing 5 delicious pasta recipes, which are all very similar to the 2 that you're going to see in this video. So if you're interested in getting yourself a copy of that, then do head over to the link in the description, and you can sign up and you can receive a copy. And by doing that, you'll also sign up to my mailing list, which means that you will receive free exclusive content on a weekly basis, as well as updates whenever I upload something new on my website or on this YouTube channel. So there's that, but enough of the self-promotion. Let's get started with the recipe. First things first, I am going to prepare some vegetables, starting with a medium onion, and just very roughly chop this up. It doesn't have to be amazing or beautiful. By filming YouTube videos, I've noticed that I have a habit of mumbling things to myself, which I don't usually pay attention to, but then the camera obviously picks up on it, and I'm just like, who am I talking to in that particular clip? But yeah, for a food blogger slash recipe developer, I'm actually terrible at chopping onions, so don't judge my poor onion chopping skills. And I peeled a carrot, which I'm also going to chop up very roughly into circles, and this is actually half of an absolutely humongous carrot, which, and then finally I've just got some mushrooms. This one's really weird as well. What is up with this batch of mushrooms? Okay, first things first, I've got my saucepan over here, and I'm just going to add the onions. And you can either use a splash of water to saute them, or you can use oil, it's entirely up to you. It's all very individual preference. And yeah, now we are just going to saute those for 2 to 3 minutes until they begin to soften up. After a couple of minutes, the onion is nice and soft, and that's when we are going to add the rest of the vegetables, so the carrot and the mushrooms. Right, so it's been a few more minutes, and as you can see, the mushrooms have shrunk significantly, and that's when we are going to add the chickpeas. Just stir those through with the rest of the ingredients, followed by the penne pasta. And of course you can use any other pasta variety of your choice. This is just gluten-free penne. Next up, this is canned coconut milk. And this is precisely what's going to give the recipe that distinctive creaminess. And I'm going to follow that up with some water, or you can use veggie broth. Next up, I'm going to go in with some lime juice. The original recipe actually calls for lemon juice, but I don't have any lemons, and this is obviously a reasonable alternative. And then nutritional yeast, because this is just a magical ingredient and it adds so much flavor, and it also contains vitamin B12, which is very good for us vegans. And yeah, now the trick with a one-pot pasta dish such as this is to just kind of let it simmer for around, I would say, between 12 and 15 minutes, just to allow the sauce to thicken up and for the pasta to cook through, obviously. And you want to kind of go back to it once every couple of minutes just to give it a good stir. And if it starts to get a little bit too dry, I like to either add more veggie broth or a little bit more coconut milk or any plant-based milk of your choice. And yeah, it's literally as simple as that. Okay, so it's been almost 15 minutes of simmering, and at the last minute I'm just going to add some gluten-free flour, and this is what's going to allow the sauce to thicken up very nicely. Then I'm also going to add some nice runny tahini, which once again adds extra flavor and makes the pasta a lot creamier and that much more delicious. And the last thing that you're going to want to do is just season to taste with salt. I'm not going to lie, I like my food to be quite salty, so I add a decent amount. So here you can see our final result. It's very creamy, the water soaked up very nicely, and it's all come together in just about 20 minutes. So that's the first recipe done, and I actually just ate it for my lunch. This next one I think I'm going to keep in the fridge for my dinner later today, and I thank this YouTube video for the opportunity to eat pasta twice a day. Who wouldn't want to do that? So the next recipe on our metaphorical menu is going to be a easy tomato sauce linguini, and this is another one of my all-time favorites, one of those really simple go-to recipes. And what I really like about this one is that you can switch it up in accordance to your preferences, essentially. So you can add any beans or lentils of your choice, or you can add tofu, tempeh. This is a very basic recipe, and yeah, as I said, you can adapt it. Now let's get started. So I already have some onion and garlic chopped up over here. I think that's quite self-explanatory. And in terms of fresh vegetables, we are also going to be chopping up a courgette, or as you guys like to call it in the States, a zucchini. Then I've got this massive fresh tomato. Next up, I've got some fresh sweet corn. Okay, and here I am going to start the cooking process by just adding a tiny bit of olive oil to a saucepan, and then I am just going to go in with the chopped onion and garlic and allow that to allow that to cook through for just a couple of minutes until it's nice and soft and fragrant. I'm going to add around a teaspoon of cumin, around half a teaspoon of chili powder, then some tomato paste. I think that if I work hard enough to squeeze this out, there should be around a tablespoon left in this little tube. Oh my god. Just give it a couple more minutes to get really fragrant, and I can guarantee your kitchen is going to smell amazing after this. Next up is really as simple as adding the rest of the vegetables. Seriously, if you don't know how to cook, then one-pot pasta recipes are the way to go for you, because you really don't need to have any cooking skills at all beyond perhaps chopping vegetables and stirring stuff around in the saucepan. So once the vegetables begin to get nice and soft, that's when we are going to add the linguine. This is just unsweetened oat milk, but you can use any plant-based milk of your choice, as well as a can of tomatoes. And finally add a little bit of water or veggie broth. And just as with the previous recipe, if it starts to get a little bit too dry, then just add more veggie broth as you go along. It's much better to add too little at the start as opposed to doing too much and then having it not soak up sufficiently. So once the pasta kind of starts to cook down and soften, that's when we are going to add a splash of tamari, which is gluten-free soy sauce. And if you're not avoiding gluten, then you can use just normal soy sauce, or you can use coconut aminos for a soy-free version. And I'm also going to add some frozen peas that I have just left to thaw for around 5 minutes. And I can't resist adding nutritional yeast to this one as well, just because I love that incredible cheesy flavor. So it's been about 15 minutes total cooking time, and this is what the pasta looks like. It's very thick, very creamy, and it's pretty much ready to be served and enjoyed. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed these recipes, and if you give any of them a go, be sure to tag me on Instagram and check in next week for my next video. Bye!